Just here in Philadelphia, more than 100,000 people are on a waiting list for public housing units or subsidies from the Philadelphia Housing Authority. Advocates for public housing are calling for $25 million in state funds to be set aside annually for the state's Housing Trust Fund. That's a fund that's meant to fight homelessness, and it's funded by the Marcellus Shale Impact Fee. Advocates also want that fund to be expanded to help communities where there is no drilling. Where do you stand on these issues, and what other ideas do you have to deal with the high demand for public housing? And we'll start with Congresswoman Schwarts.
Sure. Well, first of all, let me say, I'm sure we'll talk about fracking and drilling, but I do support, and in fact, I proposed 5% extraction tax on drilling. This governor's been giving away that energy to energy companies, and we should use that 5% to expand economic opportunity and a legacy for all of Pennsylvania. Let me say this issue in terms of affordable housing, making sure that Pennsylvanians have access to affordable housing in communities across Pennsylvania, and that is true for young families, it's true for seniors, it's true for the disabled, is really an important issue. And this ought to be funded because it's an important priority. And one of the things I do know, as governor, I will make sure that the priorities are really different than they have been under Tom Corbett, and that includes access to affordable housing. Families deserve to live in safe, affordable housing. We need to make sure of that. I respect a lot of what's happened in terms of public housing in the last few years, where we took down these big, tall housing complexes that in some ways warehoused people and were unsafe, and really created a very different kind of public housing in Pennsylvania and across this nation. That is a good thing to do. It helps make sure that families live in a variety of different communities, that their families are safe, and that they can actually succeed. It starts with safe housing. It's an important part of who we are as a community, and it should be an important priority for the next governor.
Thank you. Auditor General Wagner.
This isn't a giveaway. This is really serving the needs of the people, especially if we have people, if the list is expanding. Certainly the homeless need continues to exist and escalate throughout Pennsylvania. So we need to devote greater resources to it, and because the question was partially about the money coming from Marcellus Shale, everyone in this room understands that Pennsylvania is at the bottom of the totem pole in the entire country where states are fracking. And the fact that we have an inadequate revenue source coming from that economic opportunity. But keep in mind, this is a commonwealth, and these natural resources belong to all of us. And as a result of those natural resources, especially if they're being taken out of the ground, we should get something in return. And it's unbelievable to me that states as conservative as Texas, as Oklahoma, as Alaska, have a revenue source, and they're using it for a wide variety of purposes, and Pennsylvania does not. So yes, should we expand it for that use? Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Treasurer McCord.
Yep. First, continuing on Jack's theme about giveaways, this bad governor has given away a resource at the expense of public education, at the people's expense, at everybody who deserves really robust environmental protection. I'm proud not just to be for an extraction tax, but to be for a 10% extraction tax. I have the business background and the pedigree to be able to point out to people that a lot of times you've got to fear job creation, et cetera, because they'll move the jobs away based on how much they have to pay a state government. Not when it comes to a natural resource that can't be picked up and taken away. So we need to get a fair price that allows us not just to continue to protect communities and invest, yes, in affordable housing, but to invest again and appropriately and fully in public education. That's what my proposal will help do. And we have multiple sources, not just all our eggs in that one basket. Further, when it comes to public housing, it's something, and affordable housing, it's something I put a lot of thought into. I co-chaired something called achievability. We need to not just have temporary solutions. We need to help a lot of these people, especially women with kids, get a couple of years, get a GED, get a couple of years of college education, get them into the workforce, not just have a roof over their head, but be able to break the cycle of poverty. And we need to move this housing to where the jobs are, not just warehouse people in communities that don't provide jobs. Those are many pieces of an important puzzle.
Thank you. Secretary McGinty.
Thanks. And also to build on the Marcellus issue, some of the latest statistics, Jack, West Virginia, the effective impact of West Virginia's tax is 12 times what Pennsylvanians get for the extraction of our resources. I think Pennsylvanians deserve equal or better than anybody else, and that is an unacceptable statistic. With respect to affordable housing, one, yes, I would absolutely restore funds and provide those funds across the Commonwealth. I wanted to talk about two things. You know, when you think about the toughness of achieving or having affordable housing, you can think of two things. One is a set of circumstances in a neighborhood that is being reinvested in, and people find themselves not able to find or afford homes anymore in their own neighborhood. And a second is maybe that's not the case, but people don't have the dollars and cents. On the first, I think there are plenty of tools that the Commonwealth has, and just to name a few, you know, we spend millions and millions of dollars every year in economic redevelopment assistance. As governor, I would make sure that part of all of those projects and plans would include affordable housing. Further, we give grants for things like brownfields redevelopment. As a business person who also redeveloped properties like that for live, work, play, mass transit types of housing, we can make it so that those grant dollars also come with a requirement. You have to support local job creation and affordable housing. More to say, time is up.
Thank
I will
you.
stop.
And I'm not sure if all of you directly responded to the question of whether or not you would put aside $25 million and expand it to communities outside of the shale. So could you just go down the line and say yes or no, starting with Treasurer
Yes.
McCord? Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.